Wow. I definitely do not relish being right. Oh yeah, and a few trolls came on my page yesterday after maybe the last little bit of Eclipse that was left for those in Canada and Maine. Like, oh, Jillian's wrong. Silly Jilly. Yeah, I entertained every single disaster that could potentially happen. Because in this world, you have no idea from what direction the system is going to go from. And so you have to not only heed all warnings, but believe every single fucking story without tearing down your house, without compromising your family, your friends, even your lifestyle. And so within reason, I had just enough food and water for at least 3 weeks. Within reason, I figured out how to block out the light upstairs, because I know I can't completely protect myself from infrasound, because you have to be able to adapt to your environment. But it was the light that was the most deadly, and especially with all the different reflective particles that we know exist through the chemtrails world. Now, they're not poison, but they are geoengineering type mediums that cause blindness. No different than in harsh sunlight and you're skiing on the ski slopes and that light reflects off the snow. The light reflects off the water when you're boating. The light reflects off of glass if you're around a lot of glass buildings. So you have to understand how light can actually do damage to people and even cause irreparable harm, irreversible harm. And so when I knew there was going to be so many frequencies, I just didn't know how it was going to manifest. So yes, absolutely, I expected the worst. Abso-fucking-lutely. Because no matter what, you're going to have to prepare for the worst when inclement weather comes through and you have tornadoes and hurricanes. You have civil unrest. You have any type of situation that could potentially cause you to go into survival mode. Now, we will probably see a delayed reaction to all of what happened yesterday, which is how the system is able to do a synchronized chaos. Already people are at their flipping edge. They're triggered. We have people, just strangers threatening violence on somebody. Just even in places where you would not think, because someone either crossed a boundary or they were competing for something. And so people are at their wits' end on so many things. They are highly, highly triggered, highly volatile. And there's shootings, there's domestic violence, there's cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And so this delayed effect of immunological movements that people are not prepared for, and their demons are coming up. Sometimes it's the violent demons that come up. Sometimes it's the blindness demons that come up. Sometimes it's turbo cancers that come up. And so I made sure I prepared for everything, even though my husband was probably going like, oh my gosh. But yeah, absolutely. What I was doing yesterday was like what they were doing in The Lost Boys when they were preparing for the vampire attack. Rushing around getting holy water and all that. No, I didn't get holy water, but I did fill my bathtub up with water because I didn't know how anything was going to affect anything. So I prepared for it all. I had just enough food for a couple weeks. I put all the towels over the windows, the portion of the windows, blacked out my basement. What else? I pretty much stayed home, stayed safe. My husband, I think, went outside for a minute, but he didn't stare, of course, at the sun or anything like that. But yeah, I didn't go outside. I just saw the light dim. Okay, that's all I did was saw the light dim, and it was a little bit darkness, but I wasn't looking at anything up there. I wasn't going outside, nothing. Okay. And I kept the towels on even last night. I didn't take them down. I don't have towels up in here, but I'm okay with having blinds and a little bit of curtains to block out aggressive light. But waking up to basically 0-degree darkness where you can't even see the hand in front of your face. I was sleeping in. I slept like a baby. I mean, it was kind of weird walking around in the dark going to the restroom, because usually it's the picture window in my bathroom that brings in most light. And that was interesting. That picture window, when I took a shower a week ago, before my husband left to go on that vacation, and I was seeing weird diamond stars, like weird plasma stars. I was seeing little filaments of vibrating, floaty particles. And that's a sign of sun damage to your retina. Though I didn't feel any pain, but I was looking through the picture window in my shower, taking a shower before we left to go, and I just saw these weird stars and the floaties. And okay, so then we went to go to Walmart, and I was feeling like so amped up, so aggressive and amped up. And that was like, oh shit. And so now that it reminds me then, so when people are staring at the sun, even through their fucking glasses, all that strobe-like activity that was going on for at least 8 2/3 hours, I'm thinking like, people do not feel pain, and there's damage being done to them, and they don't even know it until who knows when. So this will be interesting. This will be interesting to see. This is like a huge grand experiment to those who went out there and just looked for hours and hours and hours on end, and just being out there. But this morning I woke up to 0-degree darkness. I slept like a freaking baby. Like literally, I slept like a baby. I woke up a little bit later. My husband, I think, sort of gets where I'm coming from, but it's still, God, I mean, I know how difficult it is to even fathom that the system does what it does. And of course, it's all these speculations about, does the moon exist? And at this point, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter whether the moon exists or not, whether that was like a satellite through NASA that purposely did that. It doesn't even matter at this point, because the damage has been done. Those that stayed home and stayed safe and blocked out all the windows. See, now you're given a chance to see if blocking out your windows is going to help you deal with controlling the energy. So that way your child and you are not having the energy cause more energy conversion that you can retain and handle during any given type of sickness that you must endure to release the demons. And so on top of what's been going on, now you get the chance to see what it's like just to darken your windows, put stuff up to stop that energy conversion from causing so much heat and so much frequency that you can't get ahead of. And then you understand why there were cave dwellers back then. Then you understand all these different situations. But yeah, living in so much light, like living in a solarium, like living in like flipping Florida and places like Arizona, where you're living with all these windows that are open and conducting the light to be so aggressive already in a highly amplified atmosphere. It's like you're seeing people just getting sucked dry, or you're seeing rapid turbo cancers. And then, of course, yesterday, that whole mass ritual. And it was a rapture, it was a rupture, whatever you want to call it. Something was getting ruptured behind people's eyes. They couldn't feel it because they had no pain receptors behind their eyes. Yeah, that was the rapture. That was a rupture. I heard sirens this morning. How many people had heart attacks and strokes? You're not going to hear people say, oh, yeah, I had to go and do chest compressions on somebody. Oh, yeah, I had to go call the ambulance and something. You know, the system was warning you that, oh, there's going to be a lot more accidents. But see, maybe that was a ploy to make sure that you stayed home. And when you stayed home, you wouldn't be out there looking at, but then you stay home, you look at the glass, you look at the sky from your backyard. So even then, staying home wasn't going to be enough. You actually had to black out your windows. You couldn't really be out there. And you just had to trust that the information, you had to trust science. Oh my God. But you see how trendy people can be. You see how easy it is for them to give in to the peer pressure of their friends. I see people on the last minute like, oh, I have glasses here, I'm gonna go look at the eclipse. And I'm like, oh my God. But they're like, okay, fine, I'll go look at the eclipse. And I'm like, okay, fine. What does that mean? Did someone twist your arm to say, come look at the eclipse? Come join me in this? That's what I'm saying, how friends and family can be so detrimental to people because they'll pull you into things that there is no way to reverse it. And if there is a way to reverse it, you'd have to go through pain and suffering to do that, but you'd have to anyways. But that's just another freaking log on the fire you have to go burn through. So wow. And so yeah, that's a type of rapture. When you have a rupture that you can't even fucking feel. I mean, I have to laugh because it's like reality. And the whole thing with The Ring. The movie The Ring, I was thinking of that. Like that eclipse looks like the movie The Ring. Where a journalist is investigating a tape of all these different vignettes of death and destruction and whatever. And then once you view that, then you got cursed, and then there was a phone call that would say something, and then you would die 7 days later after that. And then they're spraying so aggressively right now. Who's they? The system. Reflective particles. I'm not going out there. I mean, even this morning and waking up, it was hot. And it's like, what, 55 degrees? Yeah. It's pretty warm over here. But even then, on top of that, with all the different reflective particulates in the atmosphere. So 7-day forecast of solar radiation management. You just had the eclipse where everyone was staring at the fucking sun for hours and hours on end, hanging out together. I actually felt good yesterday, but then I felt my husband and I were actually both shitting our brains out. Not like literally uncontrollable, but he had to go to the restroom and really, he had to do it like 4 times. I went at least twice, and it was very aggressive. Both of us were affected through pooping, the energy. And we weren't out there. He stayed indoors just looking at Facebook Reels. He's waiting, to get a load this morning. But he went out maybe one time before the eclipse, and then when it was during, he went out there. I'm hoping he said he didn't look at the sun. He didn't even use his camera. Other people did. I'm like, they said don't use your camera to look at the eclipse. They said don't. I don't know, man. But that's how the thing is. That's the situation. What do you expect people? That's the thing. That's what you get trapped into. You get trapped into the trendiness and feeling you have to be part of the crowd by being in that position of being committed to look at something. And then they're telling you, well, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I researched how you can activate someone's immune system through light, through specific ULF frequencies, hertz. And then I also researched that I knew that people would not feel pain of retina damage. And I don't know where I knew this from, but I just knew it. And I found the information. You can Google. Well, you don't have to Google, just look at Daily Mail. They're telling you after the fact that you won't know what damage is until later on. And then they're saying, yeah, there's an uptick of trending of those that are Googling eye damage or eye pain after the eclipse. What's done is done. And so then, of course, it's not a coincidence that they did close some of the schools during that time. Because, yeah, if kids are looking at through those aluminum covered glasses, eclipse glasses, and there's other frequencies going on during that time, and then these kids suffer damage to their eyes days later, the school could be held liable. So it was smart on one end, on all ends, for the schools to be like, okay, we're just closing that day. Because they're worried about influx of people, which I haven't heard really any uptick in accidents during that time. No different than going to a Taylor Swift concert or going to Las Vegas during the holidays. But I think it was the legality that if parents were the ones to make the choice to force their kids out there, like everybody else, or keep them home in the cover of darkness and safety, that would be the parents' choice, but it wouldn't be the school's responsibility. So, yeah, it's done. So yeah, raptured, ruptured retinas. And this is going to be a lesson, but see, they're going to take all those little glasses and ship them over to other countries to go observe another eclipse that they have. And you're going to see a lot of generations and people and cultures go blind because they're staring at the sun because of a once-in-a-lifetime event. Yeah, it's once in a lifetime because you're not going to fucking survive staring at the sun for that many hours, and plus all the other immune system activations that are going on. Yeah, the system has been very strategic in how they're doing this. It's fucking amazing. I have to hand it to them. I give them so much credit. I actually have a lot of respect for the Luciferians. I really do. Because they're giving you the choice. And since I didn't know what I was dealing with yesterday, I had no idea. I was scared for myself, scared for my husband, scared for my neighbors. Didn't know what to expect, but I stepped in the face of just uncertainty, and I covered all bases that I could. I even bought, a cigarette, like tobacco with a little thingy machine with all the cigarette tubes in case that we were going to be marooned for days and he didn't want to get extra cigarettes because he didn't want to spend the money, and I get it. So I figured instead of spending like $74 on a pack, like on a carton of cigarettes, that you spend $19.56 and make your own freaking cigarettes. That way he wouldn't destroy me out of frustration if there was actual power outage and you shelter in place. And all you had was just, your fireplace and your canned food and your cast iron ware and your water and your little foods that you have to nibble on, and then cigarettes. Because those who are addicted cannot be without cigarettes, and they can't just quit cold turkey. So I was covering all my bases yesterday. And I made sure I had a thing of water, like in the tub, and all of that. And I had enough food and water for 3 weeks and all that stuff. I covered my bases, and I blacked out my windows. And so even though no death and destruction happened, and he didn't have any heart attacks or strokes, neither did I, but he definitely had to shit, and so did I. And told a few of my neighbors, get some water, because you don't know what to expect. So at least now I know how to prepare for something catastrophic, and I can get all the items that I need together as quick as I can. And again, if there's earthquakes and all that shit, there's nothing you can do except run. There's nowhere to go. Where are you going to freaking go? Okay, so I got to hand to the system. It is a controlled chaos. It is a synchronized chaos, and people are choosing to destroy themselves. They're choosing to be trendy. They're choosing to ignore indicators. They're choosing to think that they know better than the system, and the system will keep fucking them over and over and over again until people have apps, till they cry uncle. There was nothing wrong with me staying home and staying safe. There was nothing wrong with me blacking out my windows. There was nothing wrong with me saying I wouldn't be out there. There is nothing wrong with me listening to one side of IFLScience. Don't be caught out there. There was nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to regret, I won't regret those decisions I made because I wasn't out there staring at the fucking sun through $2 worth of fucking glasses that are coated with aluminum, bringing in the light into your eyes, causing irreparable retina damage that you can't even feel it because you don't have pain receptors. I won't regret that, but those who went out there might actually regret it. Would they admit it? Probably fucking not. But you'll see an uptick in people Googling shit and more prescriptions and more issues and who knows what else. But never ever regret not following the masses. Never ever regret saying no to your friends and family. Never ever regret standing up to the people around you who will pull you into their bullshit if given the opportunity. And so I really had to gain a lot of strength to stand up for my beliefs, for my position around what's going on. And it's difficult to stand up to people who are just like, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. You're not a doctor. No, I research what doctors say. I research what scientists say. Because there's always two sides to every single story. There's whatever version you want to believe in. And if you choose to believe in that version of science and doctors and whatever else, fine. That was your choice. So I don't really need to read all this shit. You guys can read it. It doesn't even matter at this point. People are going to do what they're going to do. People are too far gone right now to even make a major change, because right there, when you don't have eyesight, when you're starting to go blind, how the fuck are you going to do shit? Because you're going to have to be blind for a certain amount of time to deal with realigning your immune system, especially if that is the issue. And then you go get laser surgery and get all these different things done. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go now realign my immune system and release the demons and take on substance. And then you may have to revisit what damage you did when you went out to the fucking eclipse. Do you have friends and family that are going to help you out during that time? No. So, whatever. What's done is done. But maybe some of you who didn't go out there, who stayed home, slept through it, stayed safe, maybe this might be a lesson, and maybe it might not. Maybe you might have to have another lesson that'll be even more aggressive to get you to wake up, but I don't know. What's done is done. So that's all I got to say for right now. But with all the information I put out there as far as using remedies and herbal stuff and all those things that people use to thin their blood, people who are obese will have to deal with heart attacks and strokes when they start weaning themselves off of all the different remedies and herbs and extracts and things to cause them pain-free lifestyle. Those who are skinny will have to gain a lot of weight in order to convert the energy so they can repair and release, and wean yourself off of the herbal remedies, the drugs, the alcohol, the crazy sex, whatever. And if you don't have an infrastructure or a support system to help you through that, you'll be subject to whatever it is your friends and families want you to do based upon their needs and their wants. You're basically a slave to the people around you. That was not the system doing it to you. People choose their lifestyle and their belief system. And if they choose, then they have no one to blame but themselves. All right, that's it. Bye.